Hello, Rex Army. It has been a while, hasn't it? Yeah, the last video I made was like what, almost a year ago, and this year is almost over. And yeah, it's crazy how fast these this year has gone by. These years really gone by. But yeah, I do apologize for the long hiatus I did. I've been feeling creatively drained, so. And there's also the fact that I've been working on this particular video for far too long, and stuff outside of YouTube, my personal life has also been all over the place as well, and has been messing with me, with making YouTube videos like I usually do. I used to do it more frequently, but real life stuff sucks sometimes, and it's distracting at times as well. But I'm somewhat getting back into the swing of things. So, like I said, I really do apologize for the long wait, especially for this particular video, because I think it has been at least 2, maybe even 3 years since I said I was going to do a Q&A, because I was having a special with all the amount of subscribers that I've got, which I'm also thank y'all so much. For those that have subscribed and have stayed this long, thank y'all so much. It warms my heart to know that there's people that still are out there watching my stuff. And so I'm finally got this video up, because this one took me far too long to make, and there's been so much technical difficulties with this freaking the making of this video. Gosh, I hate myself for not being able to release this video to y'all and being a freaking decent person for giving y'all what y'all want. I really apologize. So now that this video is finally up, I can finally answer some questions that a few of my subscribers have given me. And if y'all know what I'm talking about, that gave me those questions damn near 2 years ago, if y'all guys are still able to watch this video, I'm so sorry for the long wait. Y'all probably already, probably forgot that y'all gave me questions at this point. But here you guys are. These are the questions, and I'll be, answering them the best of my ability. And hopefully you guys can enjoy this video, because this is, this one took a lot of energy and effort and just sadness from me, because this one, wow. But I like I said, hope y'all guys can enjoy the me answering your questions. I'll try not to be boring or take too long to answer them. I kind of suck at that, but I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as I can and as entertaining as I possibly can. And so I hope you guys yeah. I'm sorry I keep repeating myself. If it seems I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. I'm not used to talking like on a YouTube video, but I'm trying to get better at that. But so how about we go ahead and get started? Also, yeah, I did make this be a 100th video special, since this is the 100th video, and thank y'all so much for that too. But let's go ahead and get started. So first question we have here is by Movie Mania. I'm sure you guys have probably seen or heard of him before. He does some cool versus battle stuff on dinosaurs, giant monsters, all that cool stuff. So I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. And he asks, do you think the Pacific Rim series will cross over with the MonsterVerse? Now, thanks to the fact that the MonsterVerse and Pacific Rim are both owned by Legendary Pictures, as far as I'm aware, I think a possibility of them crossing over is very likely, and it really should if the MonsterVerse is continues doing well. And also, I did answer this question before in the past, when I was making it the first time, and of course I had the past knowledge of not knowing if GVK was going to be successful, and thank God it was, and we're actually going to be getting a sequel. So the MonsterVerse is definitely going to keep going strong, and there's a high possibility that if they run out of ideas, Pacific Rim could be a potential crossover to, boost it up. The only thing is that the Pacific Rim universe is not really doing too well. The first film was good, obviously. It spawned a series, it spawned a fan base. But its sequel, Uprising, it didn't do too well. and so kind of killed the series before it even started, really. And so yeah, and then there's also Pacific Rim: The Black, which honestly I actually watched it. I didn't watch it when it first came out. I literally watched it like a month ago. And it was actually, I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. I think it was better than Uprising, definitely. Not as good as Pacific Rim, which might be why it wasn't talked about too much after it got released. So it kind of helped boost up the Pacific Rim license to where people would like it more and not hate it, but not enough to where maybe it warrants a crossover, you know? So I think it really is the Pacific Rim universe that needs to step up their game. You know, it needs to step it up so that way it can be on footing with the MonsterVerse. That way a movie would make sense to happen between the two. But I think a crossover is potentially plausible, but it really lays down of what Legendary Pictures and Warner Bros. Are going to do. Matter of fact, since the split up between Legendary Pictures and Warner Bros., the possibility of those two crossing over, those two series crossing over, might be a bit of an issue as well, but I think Warner Bros. Doesn't own the rights to the MonsterVerse or Legendary. They just help out with the making of it, I think. As far as I'm aware, Legendary Pictures owns both the franchises. But still, I think a crossover is plausible. And I think it should happen. But it's going to take a lot of going through a lot of, like, dirt and mud. Like, going through a lot of stuff before they can even get a chance to cross over. But I think it is a possibility, just very slim. Okay, so next up we got the Wanderer Gale, who asks, does this count as a question? Yes. Okay, let's move on. I'm kidding. But, how much lore do you think you were memorized from everything you read about the fandoms you discuss? That's an interesting question, actually. Also, don't forget you're awesome. A lot of love. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's an interesting question, actually. I guess it would ultimately depend on which fandom we're talking about. Since I love so many different fandoms, like Godzilla, Transformers, Jurassic Park, Hyperdimension Neptunia, you know, multiple different ones. It would ultimately depend on, you know, which one we're discussing. If it's Godzilla, I would say, maybe at least like a good 80%. If I'm not trying to boast myself. I'm not trying to, you know, say, oh yeah, I know all of it, because I'm a human. I'm not perfect. I don't know every single thing, but I try my best to, you know, absorb as much knowledge of the franchise as possible from different continuities, you know, different storylines, all that good stuff. So like if it's Godzilla, I'd say 80%. Transformers, a good 70 maybe. Hyperdimension Neptunia which is not as big of a franchise as the other three. Or, well, yeah, because it's not as mainstream, unfortunately. But I would say maybe at least 80, maybe 90%. And Jurassic Park, I would say easily a 95, or at least I might know a little bit here and there. But, you know, it ultimately depends on which franchise we're talking about. But I try my best to know all the fandoms I, you know, grow and love over the years. At least that's just me. Next up, we got Terry Rexy, who asked 4 questions. I love that. Thank you very much. I'm going to try to speed through them. Not to be rude, but just going to speed through them so that way we don't be here all year. What's your favorite MonsterVerse Titan? I like all the MonsterVerse Titans, at least a very good amount of them. So, it's hard to say what's my favorite besides the obviously iconic ones like Godzilla and Kong. If I had to choose a non-iconic celebrity type Titan, I would have to go either with the Mutos or Camazotz. What's your favorite fandom? Again, I love lots of different fandoms, so it's hard for me to say a definitive, this is my favorite fandom. Nothing is better than this. So my current favorite one would be the Godzilla fandom, obviously. Because I've grown up with them and, you know, I love them. But I love all fandoms, at least a good amount of the ones I know. What inspired you to start a channel and want to collab sometime? I don't mind collabing. It would just have to be the communication thing is what would be the issue. But I won't mind collabing. And what inspired me to start a channel? Well, my inspiration for starting a YouTube channel is not really all that interesting, I think, to some of y'all. And I don't think it's that captivating or beautiful, but it's very simple. I watched a lot of music videos of people having like certain fandoms like dinosaurs or anime or Godzilla or whatever, and they add music to the footage and they kind of combine the music and footage together, which is something I've grown up with and I've loved I still like to this day. But I've grown up with that as I was, starting to, learn what YouTube is like and all that. And that's what kind of inspired me to do a channel that's basically that has that. But try not to copy off of people that did stuff. Try to do my own thing. Try to use other music. And especially since I loved music already when I was a kid. So there you go. That kind of, the music inspired me to do a channel like that. And then watching videos like that made me want to do stuff like that. It's simple, almost too simple to some people, but it works effectively to show your love for a particular franchise or series or whatever. It's an easy way to show your love for not just the music, but also the fandom, as I said. So that's what kind of inspired me, my love for music and all that. Sorry I repeated myself, but that's kind of what inspired me. And I'll explain a little bit more because I think there's another question that talks about what started my YouTube channel or what made me want to be interested. So I'll explain more on that later. Next we got Jay Markopoulos. I hope I said your name right. Sorry if I didn't. Who asks, what is your favorite version of Ghidorah? Originally it was the MonsterVerse one, but I changed my mind to now the Showa era version of him. Everything else about the MonsterVerse Ghidorah, no throwing slack at him, because he is still one of my favorites, and I think everything about the MonsterVerse Ghidorah is better than the Showa one, except for the fact that the Showa era one feels more of a threat than the MonsterVerse one. Let me explain a little bit why I think this. It's not the fact that the Showa era one looks the most intimidating. In fact, I think he looks silly compared to the MonsterVerse one, definitely. But just the story behind the Showa era Ghidorah, the fact that he can actually go and wipe out life off of planets, and the fact that he takes multiple monsters to bring down and not just one monster, adds to that intimidation and threat level more than the MonsterVerse one, who can get beat up by Godzilla if Godzilla's lucky enough. Kind of did get beat up by Godzilla in the movie, if we're going to be honest. But yeah, Showa era one is the better one for me. Do you think Gigan could work in the MonsterVerse? If this was before King of the Monsters and GVK came out, I would have said hell no. But now that, the MonsterVerse has introduced an alien three-headed dragon that can control the weather, and Mechagodzilla, Gigan, I think, can work now in the MonsterVerse. And I honestly would love to see what he would look like in CGI form. And who do you think would win, Manda or Nezuki? Or the Warbat, as it's now called, because this came out before Warbat was its official name. It depends on which era we're talking about here. If it's the Showa era Manda, or the Millennium era Manda, or even the IDW Manda, from Godzilla Rules of Earth, I would actually say Manda should still win, because I feel like, I think the IDW one would definitely win. I said IDW one. Sorry. But I think that one would win. I think that one's way stronger. Manda in the Showa era didn't really show off too many impressive, strength-related things. In fact, I think she or he, I can't remember if it's a she or he, I think that would have less screen time than even the Millennium one. So I think if we're talking about, I think Manda should win. Warbat, although it was awesome in GVK, got beat up by Kong pretty damn easily once Kong got a hold of him. So I think Manda wins. We've got JAP, who asks 2 questions. What introduced you to the Godzilla franchise? Hold off on the answer to that question, or yeah, I should say that. I'm going to answer this question after I finish answering all the other questions, because I have a big story on what introduced me to the Godzilla franchise, as a whole. I'll come back to your question. But another question he has, do you think they should have don't GVK before King of the Monsters? By the way, congrats. Thank you. And I'm pretty sure you meant, should they have made Godzilla vs. Kong before, King of the Monsters, obviously. Honestly, I feel like they should have, just because, like, it would be more like the older types of movies, like back in like 1930s or like the 1900s, I should say, where they like say like Wolfman versus Frankenstein, where they did they make a Frankenstein movie, they make a Wolfman movie, and then they put the two together. I feel like they should have done that as a little homage and reference to the older monster movies. That would be pretty cool. They did that, and also I feel like it would be better way to start off with having Godzilla and Kong in their own movies. And then as GVK comes out, they'll, that's how they do it. Instead of it just having Godzilla's movie, especially in King of the Monsters, where he becomes overpowered as hell, and then we don't get a Kong movie where Kong gets overpowered to have it be equally fair fight. But that's besides the point. I do think GVK, they could have came out first, but honestly, I don't mind the fact that King of the Monsters came out first. It's just me, though. We got Dragon Hackers Plays Gaming. Interesting name. Who asked a good few questions, actually. What's your favorite FNAF character? Oh, God, Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I have grown out of Five Nights at Freddy's. I used to be a huge fan of it back then, and this will go in what's your opinion on FNAF and Godzilla. I'll talk about Godzilla in just a second, but yeah, FNAF, I've grown out of FNAF, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've grown out of that series. It used to be interesting, good back in the day, but I've grown out of it. It's not really my thing anymore. My favorite FNAF character, if I have to say, maybe Springtrap, just he's the killer that killed all the kids. I'm sorry, that sounds messed up, but he was like one of the few like actual characters, and I'm saying that in quotations, but he would be my favorite. And also he's like one of the few that's actually kind of scary. So I'll have to go with him. What's your favorite Godzilla character? Godzilla, obviously. I'm kidding. If we're talking about, okay, that's a hard question to answer. I mean, because if we're talking about Godzilla like monsters, then yeah, but unfortunately I would have to say Godzilla. If you want me a non-Godzilla one, maybe Anguirus. Human related, if you're talking about humans, which I doubt you are, Dr. Serizawa, I guess. That's difficult to answer if we're talking about humans, but the monster specifically, Anguirus, if not Godzilla himself. Do you play Roblox? If not, can you play it in the future? What's your opinion on Roblox? I wasn't really a big fan of Roblox either. Well, I wasn't a big fan of it. I know that there's like a Godzilla related thing with Roblox going on, and I might be somewhat interested in playing that, but honestly, yeah, I never was into Roblox. I've seen, in my school, when I was at school in high school, I've seen some kids play it on the computers when they weren't doing the work. So I was somewhat curious about it, but never really was into it. So sorry, I'm not going to be playing it unless I got the time to play that Godzilla one for like a couple of days, but then after that, most likely won't. Next, we got a lot of questions from Wow the Crash Bandicoot. Once again, I don't mind a lot of questions. I love it when you guys have gave me a lot. So I'm a rapid fire with this one too. What's your favorite channel? I'm assuming you're talking about YouTube channel, in which case I'm going Markiplier. Like, easily one of my favorite channels. Like, he is hilarious, he's awesome, he's inspirational, he is just a blast to watch. I've been watching marathons of him for years. I've been watching so many of his videos. Never has there been one that disappointed me. And he is like one of the legends of YouTube. Like, you cannot not love Markiplier. He is a blast of a person, and he is just enjoyable. Like, he's one of my favorites and one of my childhood favorites. Like, I've literally grown up with that man. Not literally, but grown up with him as the years have gone by. I've been watching his videos. He's just awesome. So I'm gonna go for Markiplier. What's your favorite Godzilla? Again, just like with the Monster vs. Ghidorah, Monster vs. Godzilla used to be my all-time favorite version of Godzilla. But he has dialed down a little bit because I've started to watch the 90s Godzilla, the Heisei era of Godzilla films. And I have to say the Heisei Godzilla is my favorite Godzilla. Not only is he a badass version of Godzilla, but he's like one of the few that actually goes through a lot of development. And I don't know if a lot of people have noticed that, but Godzilla from from Godzilla, Return of Godzilla, or Godzilla 1984 or 5, I think it is, the first Heisei Godzilla, all the way up to Godzilla vs. Destroyer, he's changed throughout each movie, not just from a design standpoint, but from a personality, like character development standpoint. Like, I love that about that version of Godzilla. He's not the same throughout the story or throughout the movies. He's changes throughout, and I actually really like that about Heisei Godzilla, and that's why he is one of my favorites. Not just because he's a badass version of Godzilla, which almost all of them are anyway, but he's like one of the most developed and character-driven ones, you know? What's your favorite anime? I have a list of anime that I haven't even watched yet. If I'm gonna be honest, and there's even some new ones I want to check out, like Chainsaw Man, I believe. But the most recent, which was like a year ago, really not that recent, but the most recent one that I finished watching to completion, that is my favorite, is Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Now, I already love dragons, and I like cute girls and women, so this anime was perfect for me the moment before I even watched it. But let me explain. The reason why it's my favorite out of all the animes that I have watched, and I haven't watched that many, to be honest, but it's still one of my favorites because it is so damn funny, but it's also so heartfelt, and it's also so badass at the same time. It's got like all the three of my favorite things: a show that's heartfelt, funny, badass, and it's a fun time. And season 2 like elevates it even more. Season 1 was already good, but season 2 even is just it's better. It's even better than the first season. That's like perfect. So even though I haven't watched that much anime, I will admit that, but that is like one of my favorites ever, even if I watch other anime that is better than it, but it's still going to be one of my favorites. What's your favorite movie? Jurassic Park, obviously. But yeah, I don't have to explain why that's my favorite. What's your favorite dinosaur? Bruh, it's in my name. Trey Rex. The motherfucking T-Rex. That is my favorite dinosaur. And I know that dinosaur is almost overrated to some people, but I still love the T-Rex. I still stand by the king of the dinosaurs, okay? I'm sorry. And then, what's your favorite video game? Now, this one's an interesting question. My favorite video game will always still be Transformers Fall of Cybertron. A little bit of history I'll give here. The Michael Bay movies introduced me to the concept of Transformers, actually. But Transformers Fall of Cybertron is the one thing that I first started, I played the game after I watched all the movies. I played it out of order with War for Cybertron, but Fall of Cybertron gave me that idea of the Transformers living out on Cybertron and, showing them without humans, without them being on Earth, what their war was like. And it was fascinating. It was really good, and it's still good. I still somewhat play to this day, even though I play games that are like on the newer consoles and that have better graphics, maybe even better stories. But Transformers Fall of Cybertron is a childhood favorite of mine, and it will always still be one of my favorite games. If it is my favorite game of all time, just because it introduced me even more to the idea of the Transformers not just being big robots that beat each other up. They are actually more characters, felt more human than some of the humans in those movies. And I really love that game for that. So that is my favorite game of all time. Thank you, by the way, for giving me a lot of questions to answer. I love these types of giving me multiple questions. I love that. We've got Titan Dino, who asks 5 questions. What is your favorite MonsterVerse movie so far? It used to be Godzilla vs. Kong, mainly because I was so hyped for that movie. I've been waiting so long for that movie, and the film itself is still pretty dang good, but it is down lower, a little bit lower if I had to rank all 4 of them. But Kong Skull Island is my favorite one so far, just because it balances the human and monster elements so well, and both elements are still like well written and good, versus the other ones where they're writing for both the monsters, and the humans might be like all over the place at some points. But Kong Skull Island, I think, is still like the better ones out of all of them. Who inspired you to edit on YouTube? Funny question about that. HD and MV guy. I'll have to. Sorry, I'm trying to say his name quickly, but I can't really. But I'll put a link to his channel in the description below. If you guys don't know him, he does a lot of edits and music videos on like the Hyperdimension Neptunia series and other anime. He also did a bunch of stuff with dinosaurs back in the day. But I think he's deleted that channel and taken away those videos, unfortunately. But he was one of the first inspirations and really like one of the main inspirations for why I do music edits on YouTube as a hobby. Yeah, he was one of the biggest ones because, as I said before, I love not just the music, but the fandom. I like how you can put those together and show how much passion you have for just both of those things. So he was one of the biggest inspirations because he was one of the first videos I watched. Not only that, but some of the music that I've grown and loved over the years is because of his videos. I've learned and heard those from his videos, and then found the way to download them and listen to them now daily. So he's one of my biggest inspirations. Like I said, I'll put a link to his channel in the description below if y'all guys are interested in that type of stuff. What video games do you play? FPS. I like horror as well. Lots of adventure games, especially the ones that you can go out into the world. It's not just a normal, human world, but like a fantasy, more supernatural, more like futuristic world. Like I say, like the Transformers 12 Cybertron game, where you can explore Cybertron, or what's another one? Ark Survival Evolved, where you're in a prehistoric landscape with all these other creatures, or stuff like that. I love those types of games, especially the type of games that have to deal with monsters or creatures or robots or things that aren't human, or are somewhat human but not really. Stuff like that interests me. I like that type of stuff. That's the type of games I would like to play. What's your favorite song by Skillet? I love all of Skillet's songs, honestly. Well, not all of them. There's some that I haven't listened to. But my favorite one would probably be The Resistance. That's still one of my favorites from them. It's so freaking awesome. And are you a fish? Yes, I am indeed a fish. A Atlantic bluefin tuna, to be exact. Don't know why I chose that one specifically, but yeah, let's continue. And finally, we have the final two questions by Super Duper Boy, who asks, when and how did you become a kaiju movie fan, and which of the edits you've made is your favorite? I will answer the first question in just a minute, because I have basically a whole story lined up here for that question, so stay tuned for that. Matter of fact, I probably should have said this earlier, but I will put timestamps to that part if you want to just go straight to that. Now, my favorite edits I've made a lot, and I almost like all of them. Some of them I wish I did better, or I had the right equipment for, and better just video editing software for that. But it's still really, I still love a lot of my edits. Some of my favorites are like the Battles of the Unconquerable, which has Godzilla, Kong, Freddy, and Jason. A tribute to those two versus movies, which are one of my favorites. The one with Godzilla, Optimus Prime, Iron Man, and Neptune from the Neptunia series. That was also one of my favorites I made. It was when I didn't have that much experience in editing. But one of my all-time favorites, and this one definitely is The Rising King, I believe. The MonsterVerse Kong tribute that I made. This was made before GVK was even out, or if there was even footage of it, I believe. So it was like preparation for it. But I really enjoyed that one because I looked at Kong's story and I said, I'm gonna make a video on it, because it's like a rising, as the title says, the Rising King. He rises up to become the King of Skull Island, and eventually the King of Hollow Earth, is GVK shows. So I really love that. I put the story in mind for the video. I'm not just putting music in and then putting footage of the film in. I'm actually trying to give a basic summary of his story, in a way. And I really enjoyed making that one. So I hope you guys love that one. And so far it has like 12K views. So I think that means that people like that one. I'm glad too. So thank you guys. And I will be making more in the future, obviously. Now, here is the big question. when did I become, or how did I become a kaiju movie fan? And specifically a Godzilla and King Kong fan, especially. So, y'all strap in, get some popcorn or anything that any beverage you want, because this is going to be a good long story. I'm going to try to make it short though. So, I was like, we'll say 3 years old. The 2005 King Kong film had just came out in theaters. This is not one of the first movies I watched when I was little, but it was one of them. It wasn't the very first, but it was one of them. So I had no idea, no experience. I was little. First of all, I was like basically a baby, so I didn't understand any of it. But my mother, I have to thank my mother for this. She took me to go see that movie. You think, oh wow, a baby going to go see a movie theater? That's not a good sign, but I was a well-behaved baby, okay? So I actually did good in the movie theater. Most babies would cry. I literally sat down and watched it like I was growing up. But yes, watching that 2005 King Kong as a baby, and you have to think of it, I was a baby. I didn't know anything about CGI, special effects, props, all that. I really thought all of this was real. These people went to this island filled with all types of monsters, dinosaurs, and this giant gorilla. I really thought they went there. And it all looked so real and so good already that even a little kid like me was like, whoa, this is all amazing, right? So, and especially King Kong, they did such a good job of characterizing King Kong and how he's not just a big, he looks and he acts in the beginning like a traditional monster, like but as the film progresses, you see he has more humanity in him, and that's one of the main things what I love about King Kong, sorry. I'm off script, by the way. This is off script. I don't have a script. I'm sorry. But, yes. King Kong really ignited my love of monsters, and he is the thing that brought me to wanting to learn more about giant monsters and how, like, even though they're big and scary, they have sometimes more humanity to them than even humans, and they're still very fascinating. And of course, dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. They were awesome too. So King Kong 2005 is what started my love for dinosaurs, fantastical elements, giant monsters, just that in general. And I have to also thank my mother for that, because she loved giant monsters too when she was growing up. She loved Godzilla. She loved King Kong. So she brought that love of movies and monsters to me, and I have to thank her for that. And I can't remember after King Kong 2005, but one of the first Godzilla movies I watched might have been Godzilla 1998. I know not a lot of people like that one, but that was one of my mother's favorites, actually. So naturally, she made me watch it, and I actually liked it too, because it also, even though Godzilla in most of that movie is the antagonist, unlike Kong in 2005, which is more of the protagonist, it still felt humanity to it. Even though it was a big giant monster, it had humanity in it. It felt sad, it felt angry, just like King Kong, and to me that was the beauty of it. Even though it's nothing like Godzilla, I know that, but still, it ain't just big giant monster. I must destroy, I must fight everything, I must do this. It had some depth to it. It was complex. It wasn't straight to the point, even though it's good to be straight to the point. But yeah, that was the first time I actually saw Godzilla or learned anything about Godzilla, was through that movie, and then also seeing a small poster of Godzilla 2000. That when I saw that poster, I was like, whoa, this is cool. It's a dinosaur that shoots fire out of its mouth. I know the 1998 one kind of does that, but not really. So seeing this on the cover, I was like, whoa, this is cool. And it was a VHS tape of Godzilla 2000 at that. I think my grandmother probably had it. But that is now lost to time somewhere. And later on, I managed to get Godzilla 2000 on DVD, and I'll be watching. I'm like, oh yeah, this is still good. But I wasn't into Godzilla through 1998 or that 2000 poster. I wasn't, or the cover, I should say. Cinema Massacre, or more specifically, James Rolfe. If you know who James Rolfe is, if you've been on the internet that long, then you know who James Rolfe is. The angry video game nerd. That might help you ring some bells into him. But he also with my mother, he also is what brought me into the world of monsters. Mainly because of his Godzilla-thon that I used to watch so many times when I was younger. That is what introduced me to the Godzilla series, and realizing like, whoa, their Godzilla series is not just this one movie about a giant monster. It's about multiple different monsters. Mothra, Rodan, King Ghidorah, King Caesar, all these other monsters. And he even fought King Kong. So as soon as I heard that, because I was a King Kong fan before I was a Godzilla fan, as soon as I heard King Kong and Godzilla fought, I was like, holy crap, what? It was in the old-fashioned, the suits and the props, the physical props and all that. So I was like, whoa, imagine if they did a King Kong and Godzilla remake, modern day, with like CGI like what the 2005 one did. And for years, I have been waiting for that, but it never came out. So of course, Godzilla-thon by James Rolfe introduced me to the Godzilla series. I started learning more about it from video games, from the comics and everything, all those years. But I wasn't still into it. I liked it, but not as much as King Kong. Then Godzilla 2014, that film came out. That film made me love Godzilla just as much as King Kong. That movie imagined Godzilla as the biggest he could possibly be, as grand as he is, but he still had the complexity. He still had that subtlety that he's not just a monster. He still had some type of humanity to him. And I loved that about 2014. And then, of course, Kong Skull Island came out, which also reignited my love for King Kong, because at that time, I started liking King Kong a little less and less until, of course, Kong Skull Island came out. My love for Kong increased. So now Godzilla and Kong are equal in my love. So I love them both. I do not dislike one over the other. I do not favor one over the other. I love them both. So, of course, when they announced Godzilla vs. Kong would be a thing, I got excited, obviously. I wanted to see these two fight. So when I went into GVK, I didn't expect to see, oh yeah, I want to see Godzilla kick Kong's ass, or I want to see King Kong kick Kong's ass. I just want to see them fight and then be done with it. Because I love them both. I don't want them to kill each other. I don't want a specific winner. I just want to see them together. And that's because of all my love of both of these monsters. These monsters were my childhood heroes, believe it or not. Some people would have superheroes, some people would have celebrities. Mine were these two giant fictional monsters, okay? And I love them. So I have to thank my own mother, James Rolfe, all the Godzilla movies that I have watched over the years. Matter of fact, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, which is actually one of my favorites, is the first film I watched. Like, I actually sat down and watched of Godzilla, and I loved it. That helped me even more. So, like I said, I thank my mother, James Rolfe, and literally the Godzilla series for making me into the kaiju fan that I am today. And King Kong, especially King Kong, because he is the one that started it all for me. And really, monsters in general, monster movies in general, but that's a whole other thing. And that is how I became a Godzilla, just an all-around Daikaiju fan. And that's it. That is the Q&A, my friends. I am so sorry this took way too goddamn long to show. But I hope that the people that ask these questions have had their answers. Like I'm sorry this really did take too long. And I'm sorry this video is probably way too long. But I really want to thank you guys so much for sticking around with me. All the subscribers that I've gotten, thank y'all so much. I will be hopefully going back to doing videos regularly. I hope so. Even if this video doesn't get that many views or likes or whatever, I don't care. As long as I have let y'all know I'm still out here. I'm still kicking. I just want to thank you guys so much. And hopefully any of you new subscribers or new people that are here, that's what I meant to say. If any of you guys are new here, I would love it if you show some love by subscribing, liking, whatever, all that good stuff. But you don't have to do that. If you just watch the video, I'll be okay with it. And once again, I have to say thank you, because I never thought I would, be able to make a video this long. Matter of fact, this probably will be the longest video in my channel. But thank you guys so much. And I hope I will see y'all guys in the next video. I don't know when that's gonna be, but there will be a next video. I'll have y'all guys just take care, be safe out there in this crazy ass world we live in, and yeah, I'll see y'all guys later. See you, Rex Army.